I see you've got donuts here. Donut shops they pop up in your films more than once.
Yes.
So I'm curious, is like the donut shop the modern day equivalent of Floyd's barber shop?
I wish I guess so. I hate that question because I have to reveal that I'm not. It wasn't actually in the script. It was. I wish it was. I wish I could say this was all part of the plan, but actually it happened during production. It was written for a food truck outside the refinery, and we just happened to be passing this donut shop in Port Arthur. Or it was actually right outside of Port Arthur in Groves, and we just slammed on the brakes and said, "Oh my God, this is so perfect. Film God sent us this, and it works on so many levels. It even ties back to one of my earlier films." So. I wish I could take credit, but it's more like the film.
So that location was in Port A. It wasn't in Texas City.
It's a geographical sheet. We thought it was such a beautiful location that we had to.
No, because most places are like in strip malls, and there's like a bunch of places. Whereas this is kind of standalone. It has that feeling of it's a small town.
And it was literally right there against the refineries. It was too good to be true.
So why Texas City? Had you been to Texas City? Do you have any Texas connection?
No, besides just wanting to have this set in a refinery town, we didn't really know it was going to be Texas City until we started our location scouting. And we did that when my producer Alex Coco and I got on the road, hit Corpus Christi first, and drove north. Fell in love with every refinery town that we came across, but it was driving into Texas City and seeing their water tower, the Texas City, the All-American City. It was already speaking to us there, and then starting to understand the history of the area really, I think, cemented it for us. I mean, I didn't know much about the history. The explosion that happened in 1947 that killed 581 people, the chemical leak, the Galveston hurricane.
The chemical leak in 1987?
Yes, exactly.
Because I was actually working on a film called Cohen and Tate that was shooting in Pasadena on that weekend.
Eric Red.
Eric Red, exactly.
Yeah. I think you and I are the only ones who know that film. I have it on Blu-ray.
Yes, it pops up at the Alamo Draft House. They're like the local managers and fans.
It's by the guy who wrote The Hitcher.
Oh.
Anyway, exactly. And Brenda Dice, who actually lives in Texas City, who plays Lil, was there at that time. She was affected by that, by the chemical, or the chemical spill. And then also just understanding understanding there was killing fields there, and the slave trade in San Leone. We were already playing with this theme of history, especially the history between Lexi and Mikey, and so it was really just about using this area to enhance the themes, and just the fact that it was on a cinematic level very, very visual. I mean, we just didn't have to. We could turn the camera in any direction and have this refinery landscape that just lit up the sky and just eye candy.
Yeah. Okay, I'm watching the end credits, and I'm like, I bet I'm going to recognize some people, because I know a lot of people that work, in films, and it was just like the end credits rolled. It was all special effects, and it was like, where is the camera crew? Where's the? And then I was, looking at some of your interviews on YouTube, and at one point you said you had a crew of 10 people,
right?
Which is all you need to make a film.
I guess so. It was rough, and without the talent of those 10 people, I mean, the camera crew, Drew Daniels, with our cinematographer. Then we have a first AC, second AC, and then a gaffer grip. So there were 4 members of the camera crew, and they did all that themselves. And so, I mean, I just consider that an incredible feat. There's very talented people I surrounded myself with. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of waste on, feature films. When you get right down to it, you're doing a bare bones kind of crew, but it's just like, what more do you need?
Exactly. I mean, it was asking a lot, though. I have to say, it was asking a lot. Like, my producers had to wear many hats. Samantha Kwan, who was here, she was not only a producer, obviously producing logistics and everything like that, but she was also the acting coach, and she was also a makeup artist. And what else did she do? And she drove sometimes.
Yeah,
everyone
she was like...
Everyone participated in catering.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where the producers had to wear many hats to be good at each one of those.
So you work with Drew a lot?
No, this was my first time.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
he shoots a lot of Trey Schultz's films.
He did, and
Is that how you?
Exactly. And the fact that I guess you could call him a native Texan. I think he lived most of his life in the Texas area, and in the Austin area. So so when I was looking for a DP for this, I remember loving his work on Waves, especially, and hearing great things from Trey, because I know Trey, and the fact that he would bring that Texas eye, and so Texan eye. So I reached out to him, and he said, "Yeah, man, let's do it." And I said, "Want to shoot Super Anamorphic 16?" And he's like, "I've been dying to." And so he actually brought Sugarland Express to the table. He's like, "Let's look at this." And I hadn't.
Was Sugarland Express shot in 16?
No, but
okay.
Vilmos Zsigmond just approached the landscape.
That's a great film.
It's such a great movie. I fell back in love with it, and that was probably...
Everybody talks about Spielberg from the 70s, and they overlook
They
that.
overlook it.
Yeah.
I know, it's weird. And I think it's really, especially because he was 24 when he made it or something like that.
Yeah,
Just before Jaws, that I was just so impressed with his craft. And I think you'll be able to see a lot of the craft in Red Rocket, lateral drives, those very bold frames that I normally don't do. I haven't done in my previous films. So it was great to explore that.
And wasn't there even like a bow in Strawberry?
Oh yeah, we
that
do a
was
little
like an
homage. Yeah,
to
when she's looking out the window, we give her a little bow.
Well, okay, your co-writer, Chris, you worked with him a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I understand you have a project, a bigger budget project that was all set to go, but then COVID put the kibosh on that.
Yep.
And so is that project, that concerns drugs in Vancouver, or is
drug
it
user activism.
like a pharmaceutical?
It's about the people who are fighting for the rights of drug users, getting them safe supplies, getting them into hopefully decriminalizing drugs in the area so they don't have to deal with policing criminality all the time. So they're like 30 years ahead of the U.S. and they've been dealing with the opioid crisis in a much better way than we have. So it was a film about that, but because it's about activism, it's like the movie Milk, where I need hundreds of people on the street, and that can't happen until COVID is sort of done. So we were sitting in LA, kind of mourning that project, being put on almost permanent hold, and then one of my producers said, "I think I can find you money if you have any ideas sitting on the back burner," and it happened to be that we had this idea sitting there from research that Chris and I had done for Starlet, a film I did before Tangerine.
Right.
And we always wanted to explore this suitcase pimp character, this Mikey. I met men like Mikey Saber and always found him so fascinating. And when making Starlet, we even said there could be a whole other movie about one of these guys. So it was just sitting there waiting to happen, actually. And COVID made it happen.
How do you and Chris work? I mean, are you in the same room? Do you trade back and forth?
It really depends on each project. Sometimes he's very, very involved every moment, sometimes even on set. This time, no. This time it was more about all the work we did leading up to this. Like, he was the one who introduced me to these suitcase pimps. So it was, and we had already broken down beginning, middle, and end 5 years ago. So it was really just about getting to Texas, fleshing it out while we were here.
The footage of the wreck. No, it's great, because obviously low budget film, you don't have to show the wreck, but the aftermath, it was just like, that's an actual wreck. Did you have to license that?
We had to license that footage from Chile and then digitally enhance it and change it so that we would have American cars in there and trucks especially, and change it slightly. But you're the first person to ask about that. Yeah, it's
No, there's a lot of subtle things in the film.
It was hard to find.
It's one of my favorite films of the year. But I'm not just saying that because I'm here. I mean, I've seen most of the, what they're touting as award winners or award nominees. And I was, they're okay, they're good films, like, come on. I was just like, just falling asleep. And Power of the Dog is like a boring film. I mean, it's got a great ending, but it's just like, I don't...
Licorice Pizza yet?
I think they're showing that in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And Paul Thomas Anderson is actually a director who has used performers from the porn industry in his films, which a lot of you never see that. It's like it's like the Blacklist. You have to wait for an important director to kind of break that barrier, and then it's other people doing it.
Yeah.
But there is this kind of thing in Hollywood about the twain shall never meet. We're not hiring people from the adult industry.
Exactly. But I found, because I actually use adult film performers in Tangerine and in Starlet, obviously, because it was about that world. And it really, you could find amazing actors in that world. There's also the cliche, porn acting thing.
Right.
It's a very real thing. It's a very real thing. Unfortunately, some of them just cannot break out from that. Like it's something about, I don't understand, I don't know what it is, but they almost seem like they've learned to poorly act. I mean, I hate to say that, but then there are ones who are absolutely amazing. I worked with Anna Fox. She was in the cab in Tangerine when the Armenian cab driver realizes that she's a cisgender woman, not a trans woman, and kicks her out. She was an adult film star. She was wonderful. Yeah, she was great.
Well, ladies, could you tell me about how you met Sean, or how the audition process, or how you came to be in this film?
Yeah, I went to NYU grad acting, and while I was there, I met Sammy Kwan, who you just mentioned is the producer and also acting coach, and we were friends there. And when they had to shift gears, she said that she was working out and she dropped a barbell because she thought Bree would be perfect for this. This is just right up her alley. And so she called me, and they gave me Marcia Norman, I think, monologue to work on because the script wasn't quite finalized yet. And so I really worked on that, and then I self-submitted, and then, basically that day, I think I got...
I saw the video, and I was just like, okay, we don't have to look any further. I was like, thank you, Sam.
And Brittany?
So I'm a former refinery worker. At that point in time, I was laid off because of COVID, and it just so happened to be a day that I was walking my dog, and me and Sean ended up crossing paths, and he told me about the Florida project. I went home, I watched it, and I immediately rolling back. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna stop it. I want to do this tonight. That's kind of how it went for me.
So this is your first acting job, or and are you now SAG or?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, SAG is the
Union.
Oh, not yet, no. I don't even know what that is.
Are you interested in pursuing that line of a career? Acting.
Yeah.
You're certainly a good presence in the film.
Yeah, well, thank you.
No, strong. It's like.
I would love to, and I'll be open to do other roles other than just what you've seen. So.
Well, it's interesting because you also wear a lot of hats. I mean, it's not unusual for a director to also be the editor, but casting, you don't see a lot of directors who are doing their own casting.
Yeah.
And do you have to join different guilds in order to?
No, not for casting. I've always been involved with the casting and pretty much casting my films. But so this time I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take credit for it. Sorry, it's true. No, because I street cast. I'm always keeping my eyes open for first timers, people who just strike me on the street, have that aura, have that appeal, and I approach them and exchange information, and that's how it happened with Brittany. That's how it happened with Ethan. son. We met her at the ArcLight Hollywood. She was actually in the lobby, and we saw her across the lobby, and we felt she had this presence. This was 3 years ago. This was 2 years before shooting, and we exchanged information. She knew the Florida Project, which helped, and we found out she was an aspiring actor. She'd come to Hollywood to pursue it, and she had an Instagram presence already, so she was already on her way. And we just held on to, just kept her in the back of our minds, and watching her on Instagram. And then 2 years later, when Red Rocket came around, we reached out to her, and she was like, "I thought you were never going to call," So it all worked out wonderfully. Yeah. But then, of course, there are the professionals, and I like to mix it. Bree and Simon have years of experience, and so it's really interesting to see, the alchemy that happens when we're combining seasoned actors and first timers.
Were a lot of the locations in Texas City, or
Almost everything is in Texas City, minus Donner Hole.
did you make some alliances since you spent so much time there? I mean, obviously you're probably living close to there, if not in Texas City. Or
Yeah, especially again, and Brenda, and the actors we worked with, Marlon, who plays Ernesto, June's brother in the film. Yes, we're obviously connected with them, but then also, David Pope, who rented his house out to us for next to nothing and allowed us to shoot in his home, allowing,